wish I could respond how I'd like to, but I have to be diplomatic.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's, you know, we're buddies, friends. So that's, I'm about this with you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the February 2nd, 2015 Lakewood City Council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join us in a moment of silence. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Anderson?
Present.
Bullock? Juris?
Here.
Madigan?
Here.
Marks? Here. Allen?
Here.
O'Leary?
Here.
I move to excuse the absence of Councilman Bullock.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion passes. Thank you.
Reading and disposal of the minutes of the regular meeting of council held December 15th, 2014.
Move to adopt without the necessity of a reading.
Second.
Is there discussion on that motion? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 1, Committee of the Whole report regarding committee meetings 12615 and 2215.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The Committee of the Whole report, the Committee of the Whole met January 26th to discuss the process this council would use to deliberate the letter of intent delivered to us on Tuesday, the 20th of January. Present at that meeting were all council members, as well as Director Butler, the mayor, and various members of the public. Move to receive and file the communication.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 2, Resolution 877114, a resolution appointing blank to the Planning Commission.
Move to defer.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion to defer? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 3, Ordinance 215, an ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Planning and Development to enter into a purchase agreement with Liberty Development Company to sell the real property located at 1351 West Clifton Boulevard pursuant to Section 15507 of the Codified Ordinances, placed on first reading and referred to the Committee of the Whole 1/2015.
Move to place on second.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 4, Public Safety Committee report regarding Resolution 879315.
Councilman Bullock is not here, but I will direct my colleagues, the administration, and any members of the public to page 27 of our agenda, in which Councilman Bullock gives a thorough review of the committee meeting, which happened on January 20th, and then again on the 26th of January to discuss this resolution, which provides hospital police officers operating under ORC to exercise limited powers within the city of Lakewood. Move to receive and file his communication.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
And the ayes have it.
Item 5, Resolution 879315, a resolution to enter into an agreement with the Cleveland Clinic Foundation, which will allow police officers employed by the Cleveland Clinic Police Department to exercise limited police powers within the city of Lakewood on and around hospital property operated by CCF. Please substitute for Resolution 879315, referred to the Public Safety Committee 1/515, deferred 1/2014.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to move to the substitute for the version we have here before us tonight in tonight's published agenda. Move to substitute.
Second.
Is there discussion on the substitution? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Anderson?
Yes.
Juris?
Yes.
Madigan?
Yes.
Marks?
Yes.
Nowlan?
Yes.
O'Leary?
Yes.
That motion passes. I'll move to adopt.
Second.
Discussion.
Madam Chair.
Councilman O'Leary.
Thank you. I would like to speak tonight and inform my colleagues in the public that I won't be supporting this resolution at this time. I was present at the first public safety meeting for which this was discussed. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend the second public safety meeting. However, based on what I heard from Chief Easton of the Cleveland Clinic Police Department at that first meeting, I'm just not persuaded that this particular resolution is put forward with the public safety of Lakewood citizens foremost in mind. I think that from Chief Easton's comments, it was pretty clear that this was a cost-saving measure by the clinic. He said as much himself. And that this was part of their system-wide push to get these memoranda of understanding completed in all of the communities in which they operate. I think that given the major uncertainties and questions that are currently present with respect to Lakewood Hospital and its future, I really would question fundamentally the need for a private police department to operate within the city at that facility when there are many, many other doctor's offices or medical buildings in the city of Lakewood that don't have their own private police force. Similarly, I was not persuaded that the same public safety effect couldn't be achieved by the clinic simply hiring more Lakewood police officers, which it currently does already. And in addition to that, I have remaining and lingering doubts to the extent that reporting is somewhat standardized under the memorandum of understanding that's proposed. I still think that the reporting deadlines are not sufficient to guarantee speedy notification to the public as to crimes that may have been committed on public or on clinic property. And also, I think that the reporting standards in conjunction with that are also either vague or simply don't provide for the level of notification that we would expect from our own police department. I also didn't hear from Chief Easton or the Cleveland Clinic Police that they have similar plans to forthwith look at how best to have either body cameras or other cameras operative on their police force so that we can make sure that the conduct that is documented either on the part of the suspect or the police officer is readily ascertainable to the department and the public. So I continue to have a number of reservations with regard to this proposed memorandum of understanding, and I simply cannot support it at this time.
Thank you, Councilman O'Leary. Madam Clerk, any further discussion? Councilman Anderson?
Yeah, I appreciate the comments raised by our colleague here, and I had some of the same questions. My main concerns, and I do intend on supporting this resolution tonight, but my main concerns really addressed by Chief Malley during the last hearing about the interaction and the intersection between clinic officers and Lakewood officers and how that works. And I understand that there, I guess from my point of view, not everything's been answered 100%, but I understand that this is also an opportunity to employ some continuous improvement in relation to how we get information back from the clinic, how they engage Lakewood police officers, and what sorts of situations. So, I'm definitely sympathetic to some of the points raised by our colleague. I'm satisfied by the points that I felt were most important for my determination. Again, that's that relationship with Lakewood Police going forward and the assurances that I received from the committee from Chief Malley. But I do respect the thoughts and the questions, and I appreciate Councilmember O'Leary bringing those up continuously. But those are my thoughts on the matter, and I do plan on supporting this
further discussion on this? Thank you, Councilman Anderson. I happen to agree with you and have full faith in the assessment of Lakewood Police Department and our chief. So I intend to support it as well. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Juris,
Yes.
Madigan,
Yes.
Marks,
Yes.
Nowlen,
Yes.
O'Leary.
No.
And that motion passes.
Item 6, ordinance 315, an ordinance to amend section 1105 of the zoning code of the codified ordinances by changing and revising the zoning map of the city with respect to certain property as set forth and described as 1351 West Clifton Boulevard from commercial public school to planned development, placed on first reading and referred to the Planning Commission 1/2015.
Move to place on second.
Second.
Any discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Item 7, communication from Councilmember Anderson regarding appointing Kate Spurgeon to Citizens Advisory Committee.
Councilman Anderson.
Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, I write today to appoint Catherine Spurgeon to Lakewood Citizens Advisory Committee. Ms. Spurgeon is a committed Lakewood neighbor who has served our city in many ways over the years and has consistently put herself forward in response to our calls for candidates for various boards and commissions. Confident she will serve all of Lakewood well on the CAC, and I know that she's really excited about this appointment. So as such, I ask for council support for this nomination. Yours in service, yours truly. Ask for that communication we received and filed.
And I second that motion. Is there discussion on that? I'm happy for Ms. Spurgeon and glad you appointed her. We remember her fondly. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 8, communication from Public Works Director Benham regarding ordinance 903 sidewalks and curbs.
Director Benham.
Dear members of council, this ordinance change, it removes a requirement for our sidewalk inspections to provide a survey of the sidewalk problems in the notification to the residents. And really what that survey was a old-style handwritten drawing of the property that put a dot on a map that said, this is the block of sidewalk that's bad. We've gotten away from the handwritten paperwork for each property and do it through our automated Web QA permitting system. So the letters now give a description of problems that may be there and describe, where the marks are on the sidewalk that would explain, so somebody could go out and look at their sidewalk and know what the problem was or how much needed to be fixed. It also removes some duplication between two of the paragraphs that were really saying the same thing, just in a different manner. Please refer to the appropriate committee for discussion.
Thank you, Director Benham. Move to receive and file that communication. Is there discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Thank you.
Item 9, ordinance 415, an ordinance to amend section 90310, duty to repair and maintain sidewalks of the codified ordinances, to remove the requirement that a sidewalk survey be included with a notice to repair.
Move to place on first reading and refer to the Public Works Committee.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the conclusion of tonight's meeting. We have one person signed up to speak, and we'd love to hear from you. Mr. Herrox.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Robert Horrocks. I live at 14212 Cedarwood. That's in Ward 3. Thank you, Council, for everything that you do on an ongoing basis for the citizens of Lakewood. I don't come to council meetings very often, so when I do, I need to convey that. I did have a question on Madison Avenue as I was coming home this evening and days before. I really wish that it were done. So is Madison going to be done soon? And I really would hope that it be done soon.
Thank you. And it's Mr. Herrox?
Horrocks, yes.
Herrox. Thank you. Thank you. Usually this is not a question and answer session, but you've brought up one of our favorite topics of conversation. And I think that someone in the administration would be happy to give you a minute or two on it. Thank you for coming, and please keep coming back. Director Benham.
The project for repaving Madison is under contract. The contractor is going to start as early in the spring as possible. I would anticipate the end of March or the beginning of April that they would start doing the repaving, and I believe the completion date is the 1st or the 15th of September. So it will be a fall, spring, and summer project going on there.
That's excellent news. I did have a second issue I wanted to bring to council's attention. I read a newspaper article or somewhere online about an incident where a cross-dressed man was taken into custody by the police department, and our police department played "Dude Looks Like a Lady." Is that accurate or not? Oh, I'm sorry. Isn't it, if it is accurate, I did chuckle at it when I first read the article. However, it's not funny. The person should be disciplined, or a letter of reprimand should be entered into their file, and they should be trained on proper and professional procedures on dealing with cross-gendered or persons who question their gender identity.
Thank you for bringing that up. I will defer to the Public Safety Director, who is also our mayor, but everything you said has suggested has happened.
The incident is true. It was reported accurately, and the officer has been reprimanded. He has been instructed to get sensitivity training. He's a veteran police officer with great service to our community. He's very remorseful, recognizes the error of his ways, and I think the challenge we have in that incident and future incidents is to understand the sensitivity and our responsibilities in a community like Lakewood. Sometimes that's forgotten in the heat of transactional issues. That's not an excuse. And we have to remind ourselves that at all times, professionalism is in order. So I think we would readily agree that it was inappropriate, and as with the officer involved. And I think the course of action you suggest is exactly the course of action that was taken. And I believe that's appropriate in this instance, given the officer's understanding of the situation, his consideration of its impact, and his sense of regret. That makes that effective. I think the punishment has to fit the crime and the effectiveness of addressing the issue going forward. And I think Chief Malley led this effort, and I think it's been appropriately measured.
Fair enough, thank you. Then, of course, the topic of the day is Lakewood Hospital, and I would just ask, I did attend the meeting, and I thought it was an excellent presentation at the Beck Center, and I thank the mayor and the members of council who have participated in the process as part of the LHA Board of Directors. But I do want to just express and convey that I really would ask that that council, before proceeding, go back and reinvestigate whether or not we can bring or maintain, keep, change, but definitely to keep inpatient services here in Lakewood, to keep a full-service hospital, not just what's proposed. And I know that as public officials, you sometimes have to take the least worst option. I kind of think that that's what's being proposed here for the citizens of Lakewood. I do ask that you guys go back to the drawing board on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Lots of deliberation, and please come to the rest of the public meetings on that subject. Any announcements from the council? Any announcements from the administration? Mayor Summers.
Well, we're digging out, as you well know. We've got a foot of snow. It's a challenge for us, but the crews will be working through the night as they will all day. It usually takes about 2 days to clean up this town after as much snow as we've gotten. So we're really at about the halfway mark, and a lot of intersections still need attention. And you can't salt when you're still plowing. And so we just stopped snowing at about noon. And at these temperatures, salt needs a good traction of traffic volume for it to work. So I would expect that tomorrow morning we'll begin this serious salting, and hope that Mother Nature will help us a little bit as I think it's forecasted. It's a pretty big storm. Our citizens did well. They cooperated. We were able to clean up our main streets, east-west primarily, and side streets are always a challenge with parked cars, and that's going to take some further effort. And I do want to remind folks, we do have here in this room next Wednesday, February 11th, our second community meeting on Lakewood Hospital. We listened carefully to many of the questions, and I think have a greater sense of what we need to respond more thoroughly in so folks understand the options and the trade-offs that are involved here. And we're prepared to, we're looking forward to doing that.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have just one thing. I did get one constituent email. Do we have, was the parking ban in effect, which I assume it was, and she did mention that she didn't find it readily on the website. Also, were people guided to park at Madison Park if they needed to get off the street?
The only parking ban that was in effect was the one that is always in effect on the main street, Madison, Detroit. I believe she was from Lark, so I responded and said,
Thank you.
there's not a parking ban on Lark, it is just on Madison. There has not been any kind of citywide declaration or anything like that, but the ones on the main streets are always in effect, whether it's announced on the news or anything. It's just if they have been raised from 2 inches to 4 inches of snow. So it's not every little bit of snow, but yesterday would have been included.
Thank you. Thanks. No further business before council. Move to adjourn.
Second.
Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? And that motion passes. Good night. Thank you.